Project Dialogue is an initiative that we started a couple of years ago here in the Center for Community Engagement in recognition of the fact that in general in society there are fewer and fewer spaces where people get a chance to sit face to face and reflect together on issues that are really important to them, and they're in the process go beyond the kinds of opinions that they may receive from the media or just from chatting with other people or catch on the news and so forth. It's a chance. We're trying to set up spaces and accompany processes where people really slow down and think through what their assumptions are and what they care about and what they're yearning for in their lives. Some of that has happened in conjunction with the transition town movement here in Portland, where people have a clear goal of trying to find ways that we will live when we don't have as much cheap energy and when we need to be more careful about what we're putting into our atmosphere in terms of producing global warming and so forth. So that there has to be a kind of concerted understanding at the community level in order to address challenges like that, as well as obviously national political decisions. Another area where we're exploring the possibilities of dialogue is among activist groups, not necessarily in their actual planning and organizing around certain causes, but in sustaining each other as individual activists who come together and meet regularly once every week or two for an hour or two, just to talk about what they're up against in their various organizations where they're working for change. And these meetings usually begin with a check-in of some sort, what's going on personally and politically, and then a decision to talk about a certain theme like burnout or how to get groups to cooperate or how to deal with conflict and things like that, and then a kind of closing appreciation for what the people are going to take away from the group. So we've done that in a few spaces where we put out a call to activists of any sort who want to show up, and they sort of drop in and enjoy the kind of support in a dialogue form. We've had people come from all sorts of sectors, mostly environmental and social justice work of one sort or another, but often also from nonprofit organizations that are not necessarily advocacy or politically oriented, but just sort of working to help people in society, because those organizations as well, like human service agencies and so forth, they have all sorts of struggles where people are essentially needing to become activists within their own organization to improve staff relations or to make sure clients are treated more justly and so forth. So a lot of people use the word dialogue when they're really referring to argument or debate or a simple conversation, but I'd like to use the term for something that is formatted quite differently and leads to a different kind of process. In other words, it is a space where people slow down with the help of a facilitator or moderator who makes sure that each person has a chance to speak up and be heard, and that others have an intention to listen respectfully and not to challenge, argue, debate, but to try to understand each other. And in the process of understanding, they tend to set up a space where each person individually can understand his or her own assumptions more clearly, articulate aspects of understanding that they had never perhaps come to before, and everybody as a group then moves beyond our sort of normal superficial day-to-day conversations, and we can collect our wisdom in a sense as we move through dialogue. One project we started last year that went fairly well was working with facilitators who work at the grassroots or nonprofit level, just giving them a space to compare notes about what's working for them in different kinds of projects. So we met monthly and usually announced a topic ahead of time, like how to design a dialogue, or how to deal with people who are dominating the conversation, or with difficult people, or how to get different types of stakeholders to communicate in language that they understand. Often technical jargon gets in the way of, when people are specialists, they sort of talk past each other because they have different bodies of knowledge that they're drawing on. So those are the kinds of issues we looked at, and we may start that up again soon. Right now, we're quite fascinated by the possibilities of bringing dialogue process into the Occupy movement locally, where we have a bunch of very committed people who are able to camp out in the city, and some 10,000 others who don't have clear ways to participate in that larger process. So I'm working with some colleagues and friends to figure out how we could link the campers to the occupiers to the people who are in support of their encampments, and deepen our dialogue about what it is that this movement represents, what it can become, where we should go from here, and so forth. We're sort of at an early stage now. This is November of 2011 when we're talking here, and I think this will be a long process over many years where dialogue will be critical to establishing the sort of deep democratic process that people seem to be longing for, and that we've lost over many years of having being told what we think by surveys and sound bites and things like that. Project Dialogue is open to collaboration with any project in the community that would like to think about design of a dialogue process or have it accompanied and or evaluated in some manner. We can mobilize faculty and graduate students to accompany processes and to consult essentially. And this would be of any sort, ideally something that that wouldn't normally have professional assistance. In other words, you don't have evaluation funds in your budget, but need to have some support from an academic setting for design and a process that would be effective, and also to try to figure out what happened in it, and through a kind of evaluation process. It's important to acknowledge that dialogue is something that humans have been doing for a long time, and it's only fairly recently, historically, that because of modernization and the incremental isolation of our lives into separate spaces, that we've lost the spaces where, for example, in pubs or plazas, we gather and share information and understandings and feelings with each other. And we obviously can do some of this on the internet, and when it's not face to face, there are new ways of chatting and connecting and communicating. But I've found that people who, for the first time in many years, sit down with 6, 10, 15 other people and really speak from their hearts about what's going on for them, what they care about, they find this very refreshing, almost mystical experience. And I'm always surprised by that it feels that way, but I guess it's not surprising when you think about how little we're able to do that in our society these days.